Why do we? China never conducts military-level military exercises. On the global military stage, Army Group is a major player. Mainly focused on large-scale combat, powerful, but our military exercise, it has always tended to be the way of children. The big moves at this level of the Army are almost zero. The reason is probably because of the size of the Army, so domineering. But the size of the two combined brigades is enough to be intimidating. The Army is at a high level in the military. A brigade is a relatively small unit. Differences in scale and combat effectiveness. It's a world of difference. We used to hear about the actions of several armies, but most of what I hear now is the confrontation of the brigade. That sounds a little less imposing. We need to understand, modern armies are very different, and that's the crux of the situation. To understand this thoroughly, you have to look back at the growth history of the People's Liberation Army. In the first few years of the founding of New China, we don't have the concept of an army yet. By the end of 1953, Marshal Peng Dehuai proposed, divide the combat area into first-level and second-level military regions. This is the equivalent of a front army and an army group. During the drill, we also simulated the situation of the group army, the big exercise in Liaodong Peninsula in 1955. Suppose the enemy uses atomic bombs and chemical weapons. The front army is organized according to the model of the army group. Columns are complete, even some soldiers and militia got involved. Made a landing battle evolution, speaking of a really settled army formation, and that was after 1985. Simply put, our military exercises take a long view. You can also practice real kung fu on a small scale. This is the military wisdom of our country. 1985. In order to keep up with the pace of modernization, the Chinese military launched a series of sustained military reform campaigns. Simplify staffing and staffing. This is part of the disarmament process. After that, the army formation of our army consists of the original army, adjusted to 24 army groups. Each one was outfitted with fully equipped infantry, armored artillery, and army aviation. Structure is more ready. Hall tactics are more flexible. Army groups were at first vastly different in strength. Some are Class A, some are B grade. The main positions of the Class A are at strategic points on the border. Frequent training, the number of soldiers 85,000, as well as the main camps inland. Leave a backbone in peacetime, about 5 to 60,000 soldiers. Also reduce infantry. Join more special forces that meet the needs of the modern battlefield, such as air defense, road and aviation chemical protection and electronic station, although the number is small. But our military has risen sharply. It's an unprecedented improvement. Next comes to disarmament. Army groups were reduced from 24 to 18. In 2016, a new round of military reform arrived. The 7 military regions were merged into 5 major theaters. Tadong organizational structure. Now in our military system, Army Group occupies the highest position. That is, the synthetic army is directly under the synthetic brigade. Next is the synthesis camp. This establishment is no longer segmented. Represents the optimization of our troops. It's elitist. All 13 disarmed army groups were renumbered. From 71 to 83, it means that each theater has jurisdiction over 2-3. It consists of 6 combined brigades and 6 military brigades. The current synthetic brigade has various professional brigades under its jurisdiction, like the air assault brigade, artillery brigades, and support brigades, etc. These are our army this time. Innovation and progress in military reform. Although the number of our army groups has decreased. However, deployment and distribution have become increasingly complex, scientific and detailed. They have abandoned the past to distinguish the practice of the second-level army. Strive for a more even distribution of troops. Such an adjustment. Purpose? It is to improve the People's Liberation Army in the face of emergencies. The ability to respond quickly in times of conflict. It saved him the preparation time he had been entrusted with before the war, under the framework of a modern synthetic army. Special operations forces are neck and neck with synthetic brigades. Significantly enhanced the ability of multi-service joint operations. It better fits the complex modern battlefield. Generally speaking, the larger the size of the combat unit, the coordination between soldiers is more complicated. So a larger army. They need more drills. To ensure a close fit, surprisingly, our country has not yet been divided into group armies. They did drills. What's the reason? Mainly because of the size of the army group. Really big and scary. And it's not just the crowds. And because there's so much equipment out there, where do you think you stand alone? And a gun station. That's not an order of magnitude. Our army. An army under the jurisdiction of 2 heavy composite brigades, plus 2 light informed brigades. An air defense brigade, artillery brigade, road brigade, special operations brigade, service support brigade, and engineer brigade. Count from head to toe. The scale is truly astonishing. So, the basic unit of an army used for exercises. Not realistic. Take Sunday and the military exercise base. That's 2 combined brigades. You can fill this yellow sand. The key is on aluminum, and it's hard to find a parking space. So the size of the army group. It is not suitable to be the protagonist of the exercise. Everyone should have an impression of Cherie's military parade. That's an entire army marching in. Each of the reviewed teams can be formed in combat. In theory, it is indeed possible to go straight from the runway to the battlefield. But you might not know this. This is an incredible sight. Only about 12,000 troops were actually employed. And over 600 sets of equipment. These lineups are roughly equivalent to 2 combined brigades. Speaking of our army, there are now 82 Hacheng brigades. The average army is equipped with at least 6. If you want to rehearse, we find a field that can accommodate at least 12 combined brigades. This is not counting the tourism of other branches of the military. If both armies are dispatched, and on a much larger scale, at least one province has to have a field as big as that. Land is enough. Although China has a vast land and abundant resources, but finding a place this big is no small task. Modern warfare is not about having more soldiers and more generals. They were well equipped. We have to have a place to put it. Those heavy tanks, infantry fighting vehicle, artillery and helicopter gunships, etc. You can't huddle these things together. That would only serve the enemy a good dish. One more thing. Military level units do not hold drills. It may be due to other factors. Once rehearsed near the border, the little buddies around are probably going to be unable to sleep. The usual strength of our army is about 60,000. But if the elite heavy army, the number may go up to 100,000. The total strength of the two armies is about to 200,000. And when you feel the scale, it's terrifying and unfair. Other countries. Once our activities are detected by satellite, there's a lot of speculation going on. Even if our People's Liberation Army just planning a super large military exercise, it is estimated that other countries will not buy it. Our two modern heavy and armed forces, equipped with a 9.9 Bayonet battle tank, TCL-181 howitzer, TL-191 rocket launcher, red flag period air defense missiles, and other sharp goods. That strength is not creepy. Maybe our army just moved the troops out, haven't started training yet. Other countries have already begun to be restless, just like our annual student military training. Can make some jokes internationally. That's not bogus. In fact, the confrontation exercises we usually hold, not many in brigade units, more individual units, or actual combat drills for synthetic combat units. This kind of play on the real battlefield. Mainstream, surprisingly. On the occasion of some international joint exercises, fans can get a glimpse of the synthetic brigade, the pomp of armed dispatch. For example, our joint exercise with Russia in 2018. A Russian army unit lasted only 40 minutes. This is also the first time for our heavy and successful journey. Show off your muscles on the international stage. The strength of the Chinese army is world-renowned. On the Korean battlefield, facing those well-equipped coalition forces, we can still beat our opponents. Trembling, hit it and find yourself surrounded. That's our intersecting tactics by surprise. Although modern warfare has an endless supply of high-tech weapons, interspersed with this trick may seem a bit out. But let's be honest, we have full firepower. Do we still need to insert it? Our Chinese rocket launchers. The range can be repaired to 500 kilometers. Feel what the concept is. The distance from Weihai to Seoul is 428 kilometers. This rocket launcher running towards the game is effortless at all. More than 300 kilometers from New Delhi to our border. How easy this shot is, I would believe a ballistic missile. In fact, the tank. Infantry fighting vehicles are also standard in other. Nothing special, uncle. However, in recent years, our Chinese army has. Modernization is on fire. Especially in terms of unmanned equipment. Look at that unmanned armored vehicle. Unmanned amphibious fighting vehicle. Unmanned reconnaissance vehicle. And drones. That's hard currency. Have you seen the battlefield over there in Russia and Ukraine? With these, you can defeat the enemy by squatting at home. The future battlefield is incredible. Unmanned equipment is definitely a support point. We are in this Hercules circle, maybe in the blink of an eye. You can see the appearance of no one and the brigade. By 2024, the number of our troops has been adjusted to about 2 million. The army 900,000, distributed in 13 armies. In the context of modern warfare, it's just the right size. It was also equipped with up to 2,000 aircraft. Gunship helicopters have become the norm. It means we've gone from mechanization to informatization, modern warfare, greater reliance on the quality and quantity of weaponry, and the quality and training level of the soldiers. But those cattle equipment not only improved technological strength, it also proved the ability to defend the motherland. As technology evolves, changes in the form of warfare, the Chinese military has been adapting to the challenges. Maintain strong combat power and deterrence.